are taught across both public and private institutions. You have witnessed firsthand the evolution of the legal education in Nigeria. In your view, what strategic reforms are necessary to align legal training with the rapidly changing demands of the modern legal practice, particularly in this era of globalization and technological advancement?
We need to infuse some of our technology driven courses into our curriculum. For instance, you have legal tech, you have cyber security law, you have international commercial arbitration or commercial law. You know, these courses may not be taught deeply as we take other courses. You know, but if we can give you the rudiments, it will prepare you to go out to meet whatever you want to meet outside. Then, in the area of pedagogy, we're so used to the traditional teaching method. You have to come to class, and we take attendance. If you don't come for 75%, you can't write the exam. And then people will start to come and beg, and then you bend. You know? But in this era of technological advancement, I mean, you can be in your room, do your assignment, and send it to a platform where your lecturer can harness it. You know? This is another. And then, of course, the structural reforms would have to do with the law to meet the new infusions. You know, there has to be a restructuring of the law from the NUC and also from the CLE. Now, another area is like you have these wonderful, brilliant lawyers here who know the nitty gritty of specialization. We need to bring them from outside. We call it partnering with the lawyers of practice. You know, we can have a synergy with them to come in from time to time to teach some of these courses. And we can even have certification for our students before they graduate. I mean, I know of the fact that some people come to IFE to teach arbitration and other stuff, and they give certification. They give certificates to our students. So you need all of these things to make you the rounded person that you need to be.
Your last statement, things have changed and we have to move on with time. It's very timeless at this point, and we're very grateful for those insights.
Thank you.
So moving on, I'll be addressing my next question to Ms. Pamela. So Ms. Pamela, you operate at the intersection of technology, innovation, and commercial law, three areas transforming the way legal services are delivered. How do you see technology shaping the skills and mindset of lawyers? I mean, at least for us to remain competitive in the next decade.
Thank you very much for that question. And that is something I'm certainly very passionate about. Now, you must remember something as young budding lawyers and lawyers in the panel, in the audience. The lawyers that will thrive in the next decade are not lawyers that know where to find the law, how to quote the cases. They are lawyers that are adaptable, that are able to combine legal expertise with technological excellence. Now, where you see intersection, now I'll talk about three areas where you need to pay attention to. One is your skill set. Yes, legal expertise is great, but it's no longer enough for you to just know Microsoft Office Word and all that. No, you don't even need to be coders. You don't need to know how to program or code, but you need to be aware. You need to be, first of all have to master your craft, and then you have to be adaptable. You have to be you have to be very open to learning about new platforms. There are various legal platforms that have come up. First we started with ChatGPT, but for lawyers you have Spellbook, you have Kira, you have Copilot, you have Harvey AI. There are different legal tech software that are being adopted by lawyers to be able to do what you would have needed a first year lawyer to do in the first place. As that budding first year lawyer, you need to know how to use those tools to your advantage to stand out. Secondly, is the mindset. Now, law is a business. You have to have a problem solving skill as a lawyer. And you have to be very curious. You have to want to be curious. You have to want to learn. And I will say this to you: technology reward the curious. The more you try, if you sit down on ChatGPT, you will be very interested in the things you learn. The more you prompt it, in fact, I would say to you, if you prompt ChatGPT, okay, I need you to analyze what happened in which case will I use now? Carbolic smoke ball, Carbolic, the Khalil and Carbolic smoke ball case. It will give you a good analysis. And you won't believe me when I say to you, you can say to ChatGPT, you've not done well enough. You can do better. ChatGPT will bring you prompts there. You need you, and it will give you better for each time. In fact, you can tell ChatGPT, please don't be an olodo. Do better.
You're very right.
It's very interesting, and the more you learn. And the thing is this, you don't get that better results if you don't keep trying. And it is also now, every day I sit down and advise clients on fintech products. You have to understand tech platforms as a lawyer. It's no longer enough for you to just say, okay, I know how to use Microsoft or Excel sheet. You have to understand how platform works. You don't know who your clients are going to be tomorrow. It could be a transport company looking to build a platform and know what the regulatory landscape is about, and they need you in their product phase to tell them, see, I can or cannot do this. It could be a fintech looking to launch a product, and it's like, oh, please tell me, like, this thing I want to do, can I do it? Does it? You have to understand the process. You have to understand that tech ecosystem for you to say, here as an acquirer, you would need a license. Here as an issuer, you need a license. You need to be able to understand their platform. You need to open your mind. It is very important for you to have an open mind, for you to understand that, listen, it's just I want to solve problems. Because after all, startups these days are looking to solve a lot of problems. You need to be part of that process, and that is where you stand out. And while we talk about AI and what AI can do for you, think about ethics. You have to apply professional ethics when you use AI, responsible use of AI. And one of the bedrocks of legal practice is confidentiality. So you don't take your client's information and put everything on ChatGPT to train to say, oh, ChatGPT, this is my client's problem, solve it for me. What your client has given you is proprietary information. Your job is to protect their proprietary information. So you have to use AI ethically, any technology you are using. So law firms have advanced to a place where they are building their own tech in-house. They are building their own AI platforms because of this issue. Because I cannot go on ChatGPT and say, oh, my client Access Bank, and put their details there. That is very irresponsible as a legal practitioner. I would say in closing that the lawyers that will stand out are the lawyers that are commercially aware, technologically empowered, and have the ability to solve problems. Law is a business, so you must think in a way that is commercially driven, as well as mitigating the legal risk that your clients have in mind, so that you can solve their problems and they can do their business. After all, you are here doing business, they are here doing business, and your job is to ensure that they can do business without any problems. Thank you.
Very well spoken, Miss Pamela. I would say you started with, like they say, curiosity kills the cat. But from your discourse, curiosity makes a lawyer better. So I would say to my budding lawyers, please be curious and be adaptable. That's the only way you can make a change. So to Mr. Tobenna, you led the MBA Institute of Continuing Legal Education through a period of real change. From that experience, what do you see as the biggest gaps in how young Nigerian lawyers are being prepared for today's evolving legal market?
The first thing that I will say to you as would-be colleagues is that it's important that you understand that you are about to get into a really difficult terrain. When I left the law school, we had only 3,000 people graduating from law school that year, and it was a record. Today, we're going to have 10,000, we have 10,000 people graduated this year that's admitted into the profession. So the biggest challenge that I find in the practice of law in Nigeria is first the number of people that become lawyers every year. And the reason why I find this particularly challenging is that there ought to be a huge synergy between the classroom, as Professor said, and real life practice. And the biggest challenge that I found, because before I started all the work I did in continuing professional development in Nigeria, I'd already practiced in England for 10 years. And something happened to me whilst I was in England. I think I started out first of all as a contracts and property lawyer, and then I moved on to urban regeneration commercial and then urban regeneration finance. And that was me pivoting from one area of law to the other and to the other. And I learned at that point that the skills that I had were easily transferable. And that when people talk about specialization, it only had to do with exposure. And I imbibed a lot of things around the way practice is structured in England. And one of the things I found missing in the system in Nigeria is what I term an adequate post-education qualification regime. And when you talk about a post-qualification regime, there are two things that are essential. One is your pupillage or training contracts around everything that we do as lawyers, that the foundational courses that we did, contracts, property, company, evidence, were the basis for us to practice law. So this huge gap in post-qualification training and in continuing professional development trainings is what I find missing in the system in Nigeria. And what I have said to young people is that you don't need to wait for the system to correct itself. You must correct itself in your favor. So the choices that you make from day one are the things that shape your career going forward. So two critical problems: the absence of pupillage or tutelage system. So it is for you as the student to work your way even now. Start looking at the kind of firm that you want to work in. Start looking at what their requirements are. Start working hard to make sure you find yourself in that space. And then secondly, and most importantly, is that whether we have a good continuing professional development regime or not, you must be inquisitive. You must continue to find places where you can train, equip, and develop yourself. Thank you.
Or according to how the Gen Zs will say it, you just give us the real tea, like you give it. And if I can say, we just clock it for you, clock it a little bit. So I'll be moving on to Mr. Mitchell. So in an era where the best lawyers are not those who know, but those who are known for what they know, how should young lawyers strategically build visibility and thought leadership without sacrificing substance, credibility, and integrity?
Good question. So very quickly, people know those who are noisemakers and those who actually have substance. Now, personally, my approach and what I always ask people to do is to focus on building substance. Now, if you're someone who builds on substance, so let's take something very basic, say contract law, for example. It seems like it's not AI. It's not something new, right? Everybody knows contract law. But if you say to yourself that as a young lawyer, as a student, I want to be known as the best person in contract law in Nigeria at my level, what it means is that not only are you studying what everybody has studied, you're looking out for the latest articles on that matter. You're looking at the latest English judgments on that matter. You're looking at the latest Commonwealth judgments on that matter. Now, if you're doing those things, more times out of none, it's the case that you begin to identify gaps in what is being put out there. So much so that when you write, either on LinkedIn or you're invited to conferences or you speak, when you open your mouth to speak, people know that this person is loaded because you're not just talking about what everybody knows. You're not a noisemaker. So it's important, yes, to ensure that you try and build a reputation for something. But I think it's more important that you try and build the substance. It is worse to get a reputation as a noisemaker because everybody, when your name pops up there, forget that one, just to make noise, doesn't know anything, right? And to get yourself out of that situation, out of that reputation, it's almost impossible because it follows a lot of people throughout their career. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, to Mr. Chinedum, you have published in respected journals like the Arbitration International and the Commonwealth Law Bulletin. How important has writing and thought leadership been to your professional growth? And why should young lawyers invest time in developing that aspect of their career?
Writing is very important, obviously. For me, it comes a bit natural because I grew up in a university environment and both my parents are or were university lecturers. So, you always saw them writing, and so it came natural for me. Two things. When you write, you have the opportunity of contributing to legal knowledge. You have the opportunity of um, shaping things or shaping legal events or issues that agitate people's mind. But more importantly, you have the opportunity of having people read your thoughts. So no matter how brilliant you are, if you have great ideas, if you don't write it and put it out there, nobody knows about them. The point is your everyday life or everyday experience in the classroom, in your practice, in whatever you do, can inspire you to put down something and put it out there for the global audience. And so, like Michel said, you can sit down in Ife, in Abakaliki, in Enugu, wherever, and write something for a global audience. So I'll encourage you all to do that, and I think that's my small contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.